Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you Mataji for joining. So we're going to do Kirtan today. Let me see. Ram Prabhu is supposed to join. I'll check with Ram Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So that when Ajit Prabhu joins, we can save some time. Is that okay?
Okay, all right.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Rajesh Govinda Prabhu. So Ram Prabhu's kids are supposed to join today and do Kirtan, lead the Kirtan. So if they are busy, they're not joining. Rajesh Govinda Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Can your kids be on standby?
They are, I'm sorry, you are not telling before that they are just start eating some prasadam.
Oh, is it okay? No problem. Because Ram Prabhu is supposed to join. And,
Okay. We can do that, but you might be 5-7 minutes, then we can start.
Okay. No problem. So what we can do is, we can just revisit what we discussed last week.
Okay.
Anybody wants to share? Anybody wants to share? Saujanya Mataji? Kirtina?
Prabhuji, sorry Prabhu, last week I didn't attend the class. I just joined later at the end. So, sorry.
Okay, no problem. So, what was the sloka? Do you remember?
Isn't it 30 or 31?
Up to 30?
Yeah, I think so.
30 and 31, right?
Yeah, let me, I wrote down something in the other notebook. Hold on, I'm checking out. Hmm.
It was 28, 29, and 30.
Yeah, I think we finished up to 30, I believe.
Yes. So 28, 29, 30. So we can just read out and then share whatever we can remember. Okay, unless somebody else wants to just recap the whole thing. So 28. Okay. Anybody wants to read out the sloka? Vrinda? 28. Yes. Yes.
Avyaktadini bhutani
Avyaktadini bhutani.
vyakta madhyani bharata
Vyakta madhyani bharata.
avyakta nidhananyeva
Avyakta nidananyeva.
tatra ka pratidevana.
Tatra
All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation?
Can you read out purport also?
Okay. Accepting that there are two classes of philosophers, one believing in the existence of the soul. Nana, can you mute? There is no cause for lamentation in either case. Non-believers in the existence of the soul are called as atheists. Uh, atheists, sorry, by followers of Vedic wisdom. Yet, even if, for argument's sake, we accept this atheistic theory, there is still no cause for lamentation. Apart from the separate existence of the soul, the material elements remain unmanifested before creation. From this suitable state of non manifestation comes manifestation, just as from ether air is generated, from air fire is generated, from fire water is generated, and from water earth becomes manifest. From the earth many varieties of manifestations take place. Take for example a big skyscraper manifested from the earth. When it is dismantled, the manifestation becomes again unmanifested and remains as atoms in the ultimate stage. The law of conservation of energy remains, but in course of time things are manifested and unmanifested. This is the difference. Then what cause is there for lamentation either in the stage of manifestation or unmanifestation? Somehow or other, even in the unmanifested stage, things are not lost. Both at the beginning and at the end, all elements remain unmanifested, and only in the middle they are manifested. And this does not take this and this does not make any real material difference. And if we accept the Vedic conclusion as stated in the Bhagavad Gita that these material bodies are perishable in due course of time, antavanta ime deha, but that the soul is eternal, nitya syokta sharirinaha, then we must remember always that the body is like a dress. Therefore, why lament the changing of a dress? The material body has no functional existence in relation to the eternal soul. It is something like a dream. In a dream, we may think of flying in the sky or sitting on a chariot as a king, but when we wake up, we see that we are neither in the sky nor seated on the chariot. The Vedic wisdom encourages self realization on the basis of non existence of the material body. Therefore, in either case, whether one believes in the existence of the soul or one does not believe in the existence of the soul, there is no cause for lamentation for loss of the body.
Thank you, Brinda. So can Madhura read the 29?
Yes, Prabhuji. आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम्
Ascharyavat paschati kaschideenam.
आश्चर्यावद् वदति तथैव चान्यः
Ascharyavat
आचार्यवद्वदति तथैव चान्यम्।
आश्चर्यवाक् चैनम् अन्य शृणोति
आश्चर्यवच्चैनम्
आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति
श्रुत्वा वाप्य एनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्
श्रुत्वापि एनं वेद
वेद चैव कश्चित्.
कश्चित्।
Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all.
Purport, please.
Since Gita Upanishad is largely based on the principles of the Upanishads, it is not surprising to also find this passage in the Katha Upanishad. Shravanayapi bahubhir labhya Shri
श्रवण्योऽपि
Shridvatvapi bhavo
अलभ्य
Shrinavantupi bhavyo ya na vidyu
शृणुति बहवो यत् न विद्युः
Ascharyo vakta kusalyo salabdha
आश्चर्यो वक्ता कुशलो लब्धा
Ascharyo jnata kusalanusititha.
आश्चर्यस्य जगत्
kushalanusishta.
कुशलानन्दष्टा
The fact that the atomic soul is within the body of a gigantic animal, in the body of a gigantic banyan tree, and also in the microbe germs, millions and billions of which occupy only an inch of space, is certainly very amazing. Men with a poor fund of knowledge and men who are not austere cannot understand the wonders of the individual atomic spark of spirit, even though it is explained by the greatest authority of knowledge, who imparted lessons even to Brahma, the first living being in the universe. Owing to a gross material conception of things, most men in this age cannot imagine how such a small particle can become both so great and so small. So men look at the soul proper as wonderful either by constitution or by description. Illusioned by the material energy, people are so engrossed in a subject matter for sense gratification that they have very little time to understand the question of self-understanding, even though it is a fact that without this self-understanding and all activities result in ultimate defeat in the struggle for existence. Perhaps one has no idea that one must think of the soul and also make a solution for the material miseries. Some people who are inclined to hear about the soul may be attending lectures in good association, but sometimes, owing to ignore, they are misguided by the acceptance of the supersoul and the atomic soul as one without distinction of magnitude. It is very difficult to find a man who perfectly understands the position of the soul, the supersoul, and the atomic soul, at their respective function, relationships, and all other major and minor details. And it is still more difficult to find a man who has actually derived full benefit from knowledge of the soul and who is able to describe the position of the soul in different aspects. But if somehow or other one is able to understand the subject matter of the soul,
then one's life is successful. The easiest process for understanding the subject matter of self, however, is to accept the statements of the Bhagavad Gita spoken by the greatest authority, Lord Krishna, without being deviated by other theories. But it also requires a great deal of penance and sacrifice, either in this life or in the previous ones, before one is able to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna can, however, be known as such by the causeless mercy of the pure devotee and by no other way.
Thank you, Mataji. And it looks like Kanchan, Mataji, and Mukund Prabhu, they joined. So can we have Kirtan for 5 minutes?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, until Ajit Krishna Prabhu joins. He might join anytime now. So for 5 minutes is okay. Please go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namo
Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya
Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Namaste
Saraswate
Deve
Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shivasadi Gaur
Prabhu
Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Hare Rama
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Shyam Sundara Shyam Sundari Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Radha Sundari Radhe, Jaya Radha Vrindavan Chandra Shri Radhe.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev Jaya Sila Gurudev. Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Harinam Sankirtan ki
Thank you
jai.
very much, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Kirtan party. Hari Bol, wonderful Kirtan. Hare
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Ajit Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam all Gauri Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanat Pranam Gauri Prabhupada.
Sorry Prabhu for making you wait. We had started Kirtan little late, so.
No, not at all, Prabhu. It was very, very nice. I'm glad I could participate in the Kirtan a little bit. I should have joined earlier actually, but you know, it's very nice to hear the kids performing such wonderful Kirtan. All right. I'm just on the full view so I can see everybody there. It's nice. All right. So are we going to do the normal? I mean, we'll do the recap and then continue from there on.
Yes, Prabhu. So for 5 minutes we'll do. Actually, the Kirtan party was little late, so we recited 28, 29 sloka, including translation and purport before starting Kirtan.
Oh, okay. That's very nice.
Yeah. So.
All right. So let's start with the recap, and then we can continue further. Would somebody like to recap what we had done last week?
So basically, what I could remember is that this sloka Ascharyavat Paschati Kaschidenam. So some look the soul as amazing, some describe as amazing, and some here as amazing. And even after all these things, they really can't understand the soul. It's very difficult to understand the soul. That is the one point I can remember.
The amazing verse 29.
The amazing verse, Srila Prabhupada, amazing verse.
And also, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Then
Hare Krishna, Mataji, no problem.
And also, like the whole concept is Krishna is spending so much time in explaining about the soul because as we need to understand that we are the spirit soul, which is our core existence. So he spent a lot of time in explaining in all different kind of angles. And truly, why? Because Arjuna was confused. And the only situation, the difference is that Arjuna was confused at that time, but in the real life, we are all confused. So Krishna is mainly telling for our benefit. And then the solution is mainly three things, three sources where we can take guidance from when we get confused. It's a guru and a sadhu, which is like devotees, and then Shastra, like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So that was the last part. And then as Prabhuji said, the 29th shloka was mainly amazing. And then we went in detail, three types of amazing: looks amazing, describing amazing, and then here amazing. And then under each one, what do you mean by looks amazing? That we went in detail. Like, for example, speaks amazing is like who can speak about the soul, and then who has the power to speak, like both of them, is amazing. And then again, Shruti, like hearing about the soul, who hears about the soul and who can hear are amazing, who hears about the soul are amazing, and then soul itself is amazing. So that's about the third part. And then there was one more, Prabhuji. Yeah, I think that's the summary, Prabhuji. So mainly, I think that covers most of it, I feel, Prabhuji. That's for 28, 29, and 30.
Yes, Mataji. So thank you very much, Mataji. Those were indeed the main points that we had touched upon last week.
Yes,
And
Prabhu.
this amazing verse, I mean, it was, like you said, there were 3 ways that we could describe each of those 3 attributes. So it was a total of 9 ways in which the soul was described. So thank you very much for that, Mataji. Anybody else would like to add something to it? Okay, if not, then we can we'll continue with the verses for today. So today we'll start with 30, text 30, or
I think we did that.
Sorry, 30, 32, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
31.
yeah, 30 we finished because it's kind of the same, but we have to start from 31.
31, okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
So somebody like to recite the Sanskrit for 31 and onwards, please.
Prajna Mataji is there?
Did you say Prajna, Prabhuji?
Yes. Is she there?
Yeah, she's there. Prajna.
Tehi nityam avadyoyam.
Not
Tehi.
31.
Oh, sorry. 31. Prabhuji, 31, right?
Yes, 231.
Yes.
Swadharmam api
Chaveksha.
Swadharmam
api chaveksha.
Navika pitum arhasi.
Navikam
Dharmyajiyudaktrayonyat.
Dharmadhyuthadhyonyat.
Kshatriyasya na vidyate.
Kshatriyasya vidyate.
Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and also there is no need for hesitation. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Krishna Mataji, thank you. Next verse, please.
Next verse. Any volunteers? Kirtida or Suhrit Prabhu is there. Kids. Yes, go ahead, Suhrit Prabhu. You're on mute. We can't hear you. Okay. Yeah, who else is there? Kids. Yes, Kirtida.
Sure, Prabhu. Yadrichaya chopapannam
Yadrichaya
Yadrichaya choponnam
Swargadwaram apavritam.
Swargadwaram
Swargadwaram apavritam.
Sukhina kshatriya partha.
Sukinaha
Sukhina
Kshatriya
kshatriya
Partha
partha.
Labante yuddham idrisham.
Labhante
Labhante
Yuddhamit.
yuddhamidrisham.
O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Text 33.
33. Mataji, Vatsala Mataji, you want to do?
Yeah, let me go to the light. Poor lighting. Okay, hold on. 32 or 33?
33.
33, okay. Atachekvam imam dharmyam
Atha chetvam imam dharyam.
sangramam na karishyasi
Sangramam na karishyasi.
tata swadharmam kirtim cha
Tataha
Tatha
Swadharmam
swadharmam
Kirtim
kirtim cha.
hitva papam avapyasi.
Hitva papam
Papam
avapyasi.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, maybe one more verse, probably.
Tyaga Prabhu?
Tyagu Prabhu, you're there?
Yes, Ji, I'm here.
34, 234.
Okay, Ji. Akirtim kapi bhutani.
Akirtim
Akirtim chapi bhutani
Katai sayanti te vyayam.
katayishyamte te vyayam
Sambhavi tasya kakirtir.
sambhavitasya
Sambhavitasya
chakirtir
Maranat atrichaita.
maranatiricyate.
Translation: people will always speak of your enemy, and for one who has been honored, dishonor is worse than death. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else?
Next one, Prabhu.
Sure. Somebody else would like to read. If the kids are there.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Oh, okay, Surat Prabhu's working. Good. 235.
Mamsyanti tvam maharataha
Yesham
yesham
cha
chakam
bhavato. Bhutva
bhutva
yasyassi
yasyassi
laghavam.
That have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Thank you. Thank you, Shabbat.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhuji, I think we'll do the discussion for these verses, unless there's somebody else who would like to read and recite one of the previous verses, 31 through 35. Anybody else?
I think all kids are done. So
Okay. I was just going to ask Tyaguji, if your kids are there, would they like to read?
No, Ji, they are upstairs.
Okay. All right.
Brinda wants to read. Brinda.
Yes, Prabhuji, which text?
I think we can start with 31 again because we're going to discuss 31 to 35.
30.
Yeah, you can continue reading. I mean, we don't have to repeat. You can continue reading.
So 32.
31.
Okay. Swadharmam api chavekshya
Swadharmamapi chaveksha
navikampitum arhasi
navikampitum
विकम्पितुम् अर्हसि
dharmyadi yudhyachreyo
dharmyati yuddhachreyo
kshatriyasya na vidyate.
क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते.
Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation.
Hare Krishna. So Muktazanga Prabhuji, should we continue?
Yeah, continue, Prabhu.
Okay. Om Agyan Pirandasya Gyanjana Shalakaya Chakshurmitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapudakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Vivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So very nice sets of verses here, 31 to 35. So first Krishna says, Swadharmam api chaveksha na vikampitum arhasi dharmayadi yuddhachreyo anyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. So Krishna is now using a slightly different approach to convince Arjun to fight. As we discussed, Krishna he has used various approaches to inspire Arjun to perform his duty. And you see, you might ask, why is Krishna using so many different approaches to inspire Arjun to perform his duty? And the answer to that is, Arjun is a pure devotee of the Lord. He doesn't need any reasoning or inspiration to perform his duty. He is already a devotee of the Lord. He knows he has to perform duty. But Krishna is presenting all these different angles of reasoning to perform duty for our benefit. In our society, we find there will be many different people with different motivations, different arguments, different perspectives. They look at things differently. And so Krishna is presenting all these different angles so that anybody who reads this, will find an argument that Krishna has presented appropriate for their situation. So somebody who's devotional already, he'll take the devotional perspective. Krishna is saying, perform your duty because I would like you to perform this for my pleasure. So devotee says, okay. Another person wants to take a materialistic perspective, materialistic motivation. Krishna is presenting that also. So in these, so till text 30, which we had covered last week, a few of the verses up until text 30 were using the argument of Gyan. Krishna was imparting Gyan, knowledge, to Arjun, knowledge regarding the soul, and using Gyan as the basis for motivating him to fight. Now in these verses, actually from 31 through 39, the approach is a little different. So that's why today we are going to do 31 through 35. And then next time we can cover the other 4 verses. But the approach is going to be slightly different. And here Krishna is taking the approach of fame and infamy and certain other materialistic considerations. Not necessarily devotional consideration, not necessarily Gyan considerations. These are more related to the common thinking. Prestige, honor, reputation, those kinds of things. So Krishna says in text 31 that considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles. And so there is no need for hesitation. So here Krishna is saying in these next few verses that consider your varna. 4 varnas are there: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So Krishna is saying your varna is Kshatriya, and for Kshatriya, there is no better duty than to fight on the battlefield for religious principles. For religious principles. And then in 32, he says, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. I'll just very quickly, I want to just read just the translations of the 3-4 verses, because then it allows us to bind the thoughts together. So in 32, Krishna says, O Partha, notice how some weeks ago we had touched upon this psychological aspect of motivation. And the psychological aspect of motivation that we touched upon was that if the motivator motivates the person by helping the person understand what their origin is, who they are connected with, where they are coming from, then the person feels inspired. He feels, oh, I am connected to such and such family, or I am from such and such background. You see, accordingly, then they feel inspired to do the right thing. So here in this text, Krishna is addressing Arjun as Partha, son of Pratha, Kunti Devi. Kunti Devi's name is Pratha. So he's saying, oh, son of Kunti Devi. So he's reminding him, Arjun, please remember your mother is glorious. She's known for her devotional service. So don't let her down. Keep the reputation of the family going. So he's referring to him as Parth. He says, oh, Parth, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought. Why? Opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. So here Krishna is giving another argument. He's saying, Arjun, if you feel that if you fight, kill your relatives, you will incur sin. And what will happen if you incur sin? You'll go to hell. Krishna is saying, no, don't worry. You are a Kshatriya. And when a Kshatriya fights on the battlefield for religious principles, the doors of heaven are open to him. So Krishna is defeating Arjun's argument of incurring sin and going to the hellish planets. He's saying you will, on the contrary, you will go to the heavenly planets. And then he further solidifies that argument by saying in the next text 33, that if, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duty and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. So Krishna has very nicely defeated Arjun's argument of fighting being sinful, saying no, it's the other way around. You will go to heaven if you fight, and if you don't fight, then you will incur sin and you may go to hell. And then he adds another angle. He brings in the material consideration. What? Reputation. Consideration of reputation. He says, what is your reputation? One, you are Partha. You are a Pandav. You are son of Pratha. Known for performing Kshatriya-like duties. So you don't want to lose that reputation as a fighter. So here in text 33, he says that you will incur sins if you don't fight, and you will lose your reputation also. Then further on, you see, Arjun had said in the past, if you remember, Arjun said, no, I don't want to fight. I'll just leave the battlefield and go away. I'll just leave the battlefield and go away, thinking that people will say, oh, Arjun was a very noble man. He didn't want to fight with his relatives, so he just went away. And Krishna is now addressing that particular argument of Arjun in text 34, when he says, people will always speak of your infamy. And for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. He's saying, Arjun, if you leave the battlefield and go away, people will not call you a noble man. They will not call you magnanimous, generous, kind-hearted, compassionate. They will not say that you left the battlefield because you didn't want to hurt your relatives. They will say, you left the battlefield because you were afraid. Even before the fighting started, you ran away. Your reputation will be that of a coward, that you got scared of fighting and you left the battlefield and you ran away. And so Krishna says, now consider, and in text 35, he says that he says, the great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear, and thus they will consider you insignificant. So up until here, see, Krishna is using this reputation argument. He's telling Arjun, because why is he using this reputation argument? Because for the common person in society, reputation is very important. Everybody wants to be remembered as or remembered, and even in everyday interactions, everybody wants others to consider themselves respectable, gentlemanly, noble, kind, all these good things. And so Krishna is saying to Arjun that your reputation will suffer, because reputation is an important consideration in society. And so for the average reader who is thinking about reputation, Krishna is making the point that if you perform your devotional service according to your varna, your particular varna, then there is no question of incurring any sin, and also your reputation will stay intact and you'll be considered glorious. Now, this is a very easy to understand, very simple concept. But what it highlights is, when you contrast it with what we've been reading about so far, the arguments that Krishna has given, they can basically be described in two categories. See, in the Vedic system, there are two levels, or there are two types of paths that are described for elevation. One is called Pravritti Marg, and the other is called Nivritti Marg. So Pravritti Marg basically describes sacrifices and processes, etc., to help a person elevate them to higher planetary systems. pious activities, sacrifices, things like that, that elevate one to higher planetary systems, that will allow a person to get a higher birth in the next life, birth on a higher planet, birth where you will have much more material comfort and opulence than we can ever imagine on this earthly planet. So that is pravritti marg. And then the Vedas also describe that beyond that, there is the nivritti marg. Nivritti marg is devotional service, where a person is not interested in being elevated to higher planetary systems within this material creation, but instead the person is interested in exiting this material creation and going back to Godhead, going back home, going back to Krishna Lok, going back to spiritual planets. So that is Nivritti Marg. So Krishna is basically described from a Nivritti Marg angle in prior verses. And here he's focusing a little more on Pravritti Marg, reputation, elevation to heavenly planets, and so forth. So the idea being, again, like we had discussed, people have different motivations, but Krishna is so nicely giving all these different arguments such that regardless of what a person's motivation and level of understanding and level of spirituality is, they will find some reason that will motivate them to adopt the process of performing their duty. The highest motivation for performing your duty is not for personal gain, but for pleasing the Supreme Lord. But we are not so perfect. We are not so perfect. We try to perform things for our own benefit also. So that's why Krishna is giving these arguments. He's saying, Arjun, you'll be elevated to the heavenly planets if you perform your duty, and there'll be sins if you don't perform your duty. In the larger context, what Krishna is getting at is, again, like we said, Nivritti Marg and Pravritti Marg. And those are two paths for attaining a certain level of elevation. And one of the things, and I'm just going to see, the main point over here is action, activity, karma. Krishna is inspiring Arjun to act. He's inspiring Arjun to do his duty. So what is the purpose of performing duty? To please, eventually it is to please the Lord. But until you reach that point, people perform duties to please themselves, to get some benefit for themselves. But the devotee says, if I perform duties to please the Lord, then whatever I'm looking for will automatically be satisfied. It's like Krishna, Prabhupada describes in various verses that if you water the root of a tree, all the leaves and all the branches of the tree are automatically satisfied. If you spray water only on the leaves, the tree will not flourish. If you don't put water on the root and only spray the leaves, the tree will not flourish. But if you put water on the root, whether you spray the leaves or not doesn't matter so much. You put water on the root, the tree will flourish. So same way, if a person performs their duty for pleasing Krishna, all their other needs, material needs, are automatically met. And so that stage where a person performs activities to please the Supreme Lord, that is called Kriya Advaita. Kriya Advaita, this word has two parts. One is Kriya, Kriya is action, Advaita. Dvaita means two, Advaita means one. Advaita is oneness. So oneness in activity means that all your activities are performed for the sake of the pleasure of the Lord. So what Krishna is telling Arjun is, Arjun, you please fight because it is pleasing to me. That's what he will come to eventually. But Krishna is gradually building up this point. He's helping us understand this concept of Kriya Advaita. And why is Kriya Advaita important? It is important so that the individual who's performing that activity benefits because he's performing activity in devotional service. And the larger society benefits also. How is that? Think about it. Krishna wants the Pandavas to become the rulers of the world. Why does he want the Pandavas to become the rulers of the world? Would somebody like to respond to that, please?
So that the dharma is again established, which was lost.
Absolutely, yes, exactly. So that dharma would be established because the Pandavas are devotional. And so if the Pandavas were to be placed on the throne, they would rule in a devotional manner. And the entire population would benefit. The entire population would become devotional. And if the Kauravas stayed on the throne, then there would be selfishness. There wouldn't be focus on spiritual advancement for everybody. Why was Lord Ramchandra ji such a perfect king? Because he himself was God, of course, but he represented the perfect king who did everything for the pleasure of the Lord. So that's why it was Ram Raja was considered ideal, beautiful. And so this is why the Pandavas were supposed to be placed on the throne. So, but when, think about it this way, if the kings, the Kshatriyas, the Kshatriyas are the kings, if they are placed on the throne and they are devotional in nature, what do you think will happen with society? Do the Kshatriya kings have families? Yes? Anybody please respond.
Society will
Yes.
benefit by their action.
So, say that again, Madaji.
Society will benefit by their action, by his action.
Right. And so what are the components of the society?
People in the kingdom would follow the king.
Right. And then so who all now Arjun was a grahastha, like all of us. So what family members did he have?
Wife, mother, kids.
Right.
Kith.
Absolutely. So if Arjun and the Pandavas, if the Pandavas were to be placed on throne, Maharaj Yudhishthira would have been the king. Naturally, all their children, their wives, relatives, larger society in general, they would all become devotional. So if the king is focused on Kriya Advaita, that leads to the society and all those in and around the king, anybody related to the king, to also become devotees. And that leads to the concept of Dravya Advaita. So Kriya Advaita on the part of the king leads to the establishment of Dravya Advaita. Dravya Advaita means one's wife, children, relatives, families, etc. They all become focused on serving the Lord. If the leader is perfect, the whole society benefits. And as Prabhupada says, if your leader is blind, then the blind leading the blind, they'll all fall into a ditch one day. So our society, if our society doesn't have religious leaders, devotional leaders, then all of us will be misled. And that is the problem with Kali Yuga. That is the problem we are facing. So Krishna wanted to establish, like Hitidar Mataji said, the Pandavas on the throne, so that society would become devotional. And this would lead to the establishment of Dravya Advaita, or oneness of interest. Not only Kriya Advaita is oneness of interest of one person. Dravya Advaita is oneness of interest of the entire society. So this is the goal that Krishna has in mind. Through Kriya Advaita lead to Dravya Advaita. And therefore, he wants Arjun to fight. Arjun, by fighting, would establish the right example, would set a right example. There's this verse in Bhagavad Gita that says, Yad Yad Achariti Shrestha, whatever the leader does, others will follow. Common men will follow. So if Arjun performs his fighting duty as a Kshatriya, that's the duty of his Varna, then others will follow. He'll set a good example and he will benefit and the whole society will benefit. And in order to achieve that, now Krishna's explained Gyan, he's explained the soul to Arjun. Now he's giving him material considerations also. He's bringing in Pravritti Marg also, that you'll go to heaven. If you don't perform this, then you won't go to heaven. If heaven is your target or goal, then fighting will take you there also. So from any different angle, Krishna is convincing Arjun that he must perform his duty. And he's also telling him that different varnas have different duties. So a Brahman's duty is to perform sacrifice. If he doesn't perform sacrifices, doesn't do pathan, various duties of a Brahmana, then he can incur sin. He runs that risk. Same way, if a Kshatriya doesn't perform his duty of fighting, then he can incur sin. So he's saying, Arjun, don't try to perform the duty of a Brahman. You are a Kshatriya, you perform duty of a Kshatriya. If you perform your duty as Kshatriya, you will not incur sin. If you try to perform duty of a Brahman, then you may incur some sinful reaction could be there. So many principles are being established. One of Varnashram Dharma, where Krishna is saying, perform your duty. Then second, establishment of Kriya Dvaita, establishment of Dravya Dvaita. And Krishna is inspiring Arjun to perform his duty. So actually, I should stop now. It's almost 8:50. So because usually questions take a little bit of time and we go over a lot. So I'll stop here, Prabhu Mataji. If you have any questions, comments, let's discuss those. Hare Krishna.
Saujanya Mataji, yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. So you like how you explain Kriya Advaita. Kriya means activities and Advaita means oneness. Like how you said Dvaita means two, Advaita means opposite, which is like oneness. So like the Dravya Advaita, Dravya means, is it like Sampat, like prosperity? Like, in Sanskrit language, we say Dravyam means money, like, property. So by doing Kriya Advaita, because when you were explaining, you were saying the Dravya Advaita means that like a community, society, everything else will benefit. It's like you're multiplying it. But the word Dravya means, it's not a question, Prabhuji, I'm just trying to confirm my understanding.
Sure.
Like by doing activity like Kriya, you are by doing Kriya Advaita, you'll get Dravya Advaita. So here Dravya Advaita means prosperity, like property. Though you said it is like society, but looking at the word meaning, I'm little
okay, yeah, I understand your point, Ma. So Madhuri, Advaita of course means oneness, and Dravya Advaita actually simply just means oneness of interest.
Dravya means here interest.
Oneness of interest. Where I'm actually, there's a verse in Bhagavatam which explains this more in detail. So in that it says Atma Jayata and Suta Adinam. So there they describe more about the family. Suta means children, Atma Jaya, Jaya means wife, Atma is self. So that is described in Bhagavatam a little more in detail. I was just focusing on the key word, which is Dravya Advaita, and the prior verse Kriya Advaita. So not that Dravya means family. Dravya Advaita means oneness of interest.
So in this context, we have to understand this as by doing activities like Kriya Advaita, you will get Dravya Advaita, which is oneness of interest.
Oneness of interest for the larger society.
For the larger society.
Because so if the king, Arjun is king, Arjun is a Kshatriya. So if the king is performing activities that are in devotional service, which represent Kriya Advaita, then the entire population benefits. And so it's basically the same thing that Prabhupada has said many times, blind leading the blind in current society, because leaders are not devotional. How can they lead you to the right path? They lead you down the path of greed and selfishness and all that, you see. So at the simplest level, that's all it is. But these are more references from Bhagavatam, etc., to support what we are reading in Bhagavad Gita.
Got it. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Haribol Prabhu, this is Vatsala. The same question. So Kriya Advaita, it benefits only one individual, whereas Dhruva, is it Dhruva or Dvaita? I didn't get it.
Dravya Advaita.
Dravya Advaita benefits the whole society, one versus the large. Right?
Right.
Okay. Dravya. Okay. So, I mean, what is Krishna saying here is either you want to benefit for yourself or for the larger cause. Either way, you should do it. That's what Krishna is trying to explain here.
Yes, Krishna is explaining that actually in these sets of verses, Krishna is basically like in 31 through 35, what we read today, Krishna is basically just telling Arjun that if you don't perform your duty, there'll be sinful reaction might occur. If you perform your duty, you'll go to heaven. So don't worry that by killing someone, you're going to get sin. That's not going to happen. Don't worry. And that's what Krishna is telling Arjun. But the behind the scene motivation of Krishna is to engage Arjun in Kriya Advaita, which is basically devotional service, so that Pandavas are established on the throne, so that the entire society benefits. And that's where the Advaita comes in.
Oh, okay. Okay. I got confused. Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks a lot.
Shravanti Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
All goes to Srila
Jai Prabhu.
Prabhuji, like you were mentioning like different varnas and they have different duties to be performed. So is it like nowadays in the society we belong to one type of varna? If I'm not wrong. So should we follow that varna, or in ISKCON we have again the Brahmanical initiation? So how can I relate both? Like if we belong to this varna, then why should we should become a Brahmana? Like by taking Brahmanical initiation, the second initiation. Why do in ISKCON they prefer that? I just want that understanding, whether we should follow what varna we belong at present through our family, ancestors, or why is it stressing here like an
That's a very good question. That if by performing our duty of our particular varna that we are born into, then why are we changing our varna and trying to become Brahman, right? So please try to understand the answer. I don't mean to offend anybody, but as Prabhupada has said, Kalau Sudra Sambhava. In Kali Yuga, our varna from family is basically in name only. By action, if you analyze actions of most people, we behave like Shudras. See, we may say, oh, I am born in a Brahman family, I am such and such Gotra, and so on and so forth. But we are not performing the activities of that particular varna. So let's say if somebody Varna is that of Kshatriya, never mind Brahman. Let's say Varna is that of Kshatriya. If you analyze today's society, are the Kshatriyas actually behaving like Kshatriyas? As described in the Shastras, they are not behaving like Kshatriyas. The Vaishya, if you look at the Vaishya community, mercantile community, trader community, are they actually following what the Shastras recommend for the Vaishya community or even the Shudra community? We are not following nobody is following the particular Vedic duties for their Varna. If they are following, then that's okay. So that's why Prabhupada explained that what is Krishna actually giving us in the Vedas? What are the Vedas giving us? What are the Shastras giving us? What is Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam? All these scriptures, what are they giving us? They're basically telling us to perform devotional service. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam. So we can perform devotional service in any Varna, provided we do it strictly. But we don't do it strictly. So now Prabhupada, so he has given us this one process. Otherwise, how difficult would it be if he had given 4 or 5 different processes? Okay, if you are Shudra, you do this. If you are this, you do that. You see, he would have had to, I mean, the Shastra eventually says whether regardless of your Varna, if you perform devotional service, you're okay. Devotional service is not only for the Brahmins. It is just what you do is slightly different. So Arjun's devotional service was to fight. A Brahman's devotional service is to study Shastra and explains, but it is still devotional service. So to your question about why change our Varna from, let's say, if we are born Vaishya, why are we trying to become Brahman? That is because Krishna says, Chatur Varnam Maya Shistram Guna Karma Vibhagasha. That is, the Varna actually is not by birth, it is by Guna, your qualities, and Karma, your action. So if your action is that of a Brahman, then you are a real Brahman. Otherwise, you're in, Prabhupada said, then otherwise you're Brahma Bandhu. Brahma Bandhu meaning maybe born in a Brahman family, but you're not performing the activities of Brahman, then you're only friend of Brahman. You are not really Brahman. Somebody may be born in a Shudra family, but if he's performing actions suitable for Brahman, then he's real Brahman. So Guna Karma Vibhagasha. So devotional service is not the privilege of only Brahmins or only Kshatriyas or only Vaishya. It is privilege of any living entity. And if somebody performs good devotional service and imbibes Brahminical qualities, then they are Brahman. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're welcome, Madhuri. So it's standardized. Everybody, regardless of what family you're born in, are saying just perform devotional service. That's the right thing to do.
So I would like to add one comment here. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yeah, of course, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. So also when we take the mode of ignorance, mode of passion, and mode of goodness, right? So in this current situation, at least if you come in those categories, the highest mode, which is the mode of goodness, Brahmins are always situated on the mode of goodness. And that is a very close way we can traverse to become a Vaishnava, which is above Brahmana. So that is why Srila Prabhupada always wanted to create Brahmins. Brahmins are always on the mode of goodness. That is the topmost mode one has to be, to be in the path of spiritual path. So one has to be in that path, he has to become first he says that coming from animal consciousness to human consciousness, and in the human consciousness, coming from ignorance to passion mode to goodness mode, then you have to always be situated in the mode of goodness, that is Brahmana. And then traversing above that mode is Vaishnava, which is above Brahmana. So Srila Prabhupada always wanted to create Brahmins.
To eventually create Vaishnavas.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, when we all follow Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada wants us to become Vaishnavas.
Yes, even higher than the Brahman.
Yeah, then. And another thing, Prabhuji, in this context, when you're telling about 2.31, where Krishna is telling Arjuna to do his duty, eventually to please the Lord, I feel like, like it's the takeaway here is that whatever activity we do, if you're doing to please Krishna, automatically that Kriya Advaita will have a Dravya Advaita.
Right, because your children and your family, everybody will benefit. They will do the same thing. Yes.
That's why he's connecting the dots.
Yes.
Thank you,
Prabhu, one thing I want clarity on this, that, Krishna initially started telling Arjuna about soul and body. So he's on the platform of spirituality, basically. Right? Now, Arjuna, of course, we all know that he is very elevated soul. Okay. So now Krishna is, I feel, I might be wrong, but Krishna is coming a little lower stage now. Because initially he was at the platform of soul and body. Now he's coming to the lower stage. That means he's inciting the material aspects into Arjuna. Okay, the fame, infamy. Okay, all these are basically, the disrespect is worse than death. All these are bodily aspects,
right?
Not as spiritual aspects. So Krishna is coming down from spiritual aspects to bodily aspects. So I feel he's coming down. So knowledge should always go up, but he's coming down. So what do you say about it?
And that's right, Prabhuji. That's a very good observation. And he will do that through verse 39, the same theme of bodily. And like we discussed in the beginning, he's doing this deliberately because the readers of the Bhagavad Gita are of variety of motivations. Somebody may be of a very materialistic motivation. They care only about their reputation. They care only about, being viewed as a good man. So the concept of soul and body, you see, we as devotees may think that is we don't think, we accept that is the reality. But everybody doesn't think that way.
He could have gone from the bodily concept to the soul level, right? Rather than coming from soul concept to the bodily concept.
Yeah, I mean, Krishna first gave the gem. Then he's saying, if this is too hard for you to handle, then okay, I'll explain to you the other levels also. He gave the best right up front, because otherwise somebody could have said, or Mukta Sangha Prabhu, you would have said, why is he taking so long to come to the point? Give us the gem first, right?
So that means Arjuna was not ready to accept that?
No, Arjuna was ready to accept it, but Krishna has given the gem right up front. And he's saying, but if that gem is going above somebody, then let me come down and give them something that will appeal to them also. So he's appealing to people of different levels. See, just like the Vedas, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Trigunya Vishya Veda, Nishtraigunyo Bhava Arjuna. He says the Vedas deal with the three modes of nature. And they have prescriptions for people at different levels, but all for the purpose of elevating them, right? So because Arjuna is already elevated, Krishna came to him with the highest argument first. Your soul, you're not body. Then Krishna is saying, okay, now for the others, let me give them what will appeal to them.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, bro.
You're welcome, Prabhu. Very nice, very nice question.
Prabhuji, I have another question. Can I ask Prabhuji?
Of course, man.
Prabhuji, in 2.31 in the purport, 2 sentences I'm reading, Prabhuji. In the paragraph from the bottom, the last but one, it's written that the animal, Therefore, killing on the battlefield on religious principles and killing animals in the sacrificial fire are not at all considered to be acts of violence because everyone is benefited by the religious principles involved. The animal sacrificed gets a human life immediately without undergoing the gradual evolutionary process from one form to another, and the Kshatriyas killed on the battlefield also attain the heavenly planets. So, here my question is about the animal sacrifice. But right now, I mean, in Kali Yuga, we don't do that, right, Prabhuji? Because um,
Right.
the thinking behind killing the animal, for goddess Kali, and also in some rural places we still see, but even now, I mean, not we, but in general, people say, no, we shouldn't do that. But here, Prabhupada is saying that, it is considered to be benefited as per the principles, religious principles. So, can we say that, like, if someone reads this, Prabhuji, and then if they say, see, even here it is written, then is it right to say like this? Like, at that time, their consciousness was different. But now, killing an animal as for a sacrifice, our consciousness is different. So, we can't take the literal meaning here. Is this, can we say like that, Prabhuji? Or maybe you can give me a better explanation.
No, I think what you said makes a lot of sense. It's a very nice way to explain it. The only thing I would add to that is that when Prabhupada is describing about the animal sacrifice would liberate the animal from the animal body and immediately award them a human birth, that sacrifice has to be performed perfectly. So the brahmanas who are performing that sacrifice have to be well trained, and they have to have the right knowledge. And that is not available in Kali Yuga. That's why the sacrifice is not recommended. If somebody is so trained and expert that they can do it, by all means, go ahead and do it.
Because we are only seeing the later part. Oh, if we kill the animal, it will get better. But whether are we doing it in the right way is the key point here.
Where is the procedure? Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Proper mantras, proper recitation of mantras, all that.
Right. Yeah. And in the last paragraph, Prabhuji, where it's written about swadharmas, I have a question on the like on the bodily plane. Swadharma is called varnashrama dharma, or man's stepping stone for spiritual understanding. But right now, when Shanti Mataji was asking the question, like right now we don't have the varnashrama dharmas for Kali Yuga. So again, here, when we are reading, or when someone is reading, or someone asks a question, we have to say this varnashrama dharma, what Prabhupada is mentioning here, is for that age, in like Dwapar Yuga. But now we can't say, oh, this is Brahmana and this is Kshatriya, so he has to fight, he has to rule. That doesn't apply now. Can we say like that, Prabhuji?
Yeah, because the varnashram system is not being followed perfectly, because again, see, there's varna and then there's ashram. So ashram also is important. Let's say somebody is a Kshatriya and say, oh, I am Kshatriya, that's my varna. Then you say, what is your ashram? They'll say, oh, I never went through brahmachari ashram, or I didn't go through brahmachari, now I'm grasta. And will you ever go manprastha, and will you ever take sannyas? You see? So we are not following that.
That means, can we say that, oh, just because you're born in Kshatriya, you can't take that meaning here, what Prabhupada is saying, because just by taking birth in Kshatriya family or Brahmana family, by not following the ashrama, then you can't even talk about that concept.
Yeah,
like
you're
that.
compromising and adjusting everything, So either you follow the system strictly, or
don't take only what you need, what is convenient for you from there.
Right. You see, selective following is not beneficial.
It's not, we should do complete following.
Correct.
Right.
So that's why Prabhupada says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this Kali Yuga, knowing that in Kali Yuga all these things will be very difficult to follow. And therefore he gave the process of Sankirtan, the process of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Because he says in Kali Yuga, it is very difficult to do all the other things. But Kali Yuga has one benefit, and that is the process for attaining the results of all the Varnashram Dharma system and all that, which could be followed in prior yugas, you can achieve the same result through the easy process of chanting the holy names of God.
That reminds me, I mean, at least where I'm from, South India, Prabhuji, even now some people for certain festivals, they say, oh, we have to give, like offering or a gift to 10 Brahmins. And then they ask, do you know anyone who is from Brahmin family? We cannot argue with them. At the same time, they're not in the level area, even if we say they cannot understand. When you face such situations, or when you see your own close family friends or like that, how should we take it, Prabhuji? Do we feel pity for them or just pray for them and leave it? Or we can't go and tell, right? Then it looks like, oh, what are you talking?
It is, let them do what they feel comfortable doing, because the thing is that at least they are doing that with some faith in God. So we have to nurture that faith in God, and there's no need for us to say that, the Brahman is not perfect, or you're not perfect, or the mantra is not perfect. Nobody is perfect in Kali Yuga. At least they are doing something pious, so let them do it.
So if they ask us on the other side, they say, oh, why are you doing like this? You should only give to Brahmin. At that time, if we tell, see, this is what's said in Bhagavad Gita and this is what it means, then it's okay, right? It's not like as if we are defending. In fact, we are trying to give a proper validation to our understanding.
Correct. No, that is, you if somebody asks you, then it is perfectly okay to share the information. Because after all, this is very valuable information. You see, in Kali, the process has become very simple. Krishna has simplified the process for us because he knows that our capacity is limited.
So it's very difficult to live in the imbalanced society,
Yeah. And that's why Krishna says the highest charity, the highest act of charity, the highest good is to give someone the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Because that is what leads to eternal happiness. You're giving someone the secret to eternal happiness. What can be better than that?
Prabhu, I have a question. Last question.
Yes,
so in Kali Yuga, this Varnashrama Dharma doesn't apply. And if we are following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's chanting and Shravanam Kirtanam, chanting, then everything else is nullified. So we become, we are born Shudra. Okay, nobody is in Kali Yuga, nobody is a real Brahmana, I think.
Right.
So till as long as we are chanting this Mahamantra, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's words, Shravanam Kirtanam, all that, then everything else we don't have to follow. You are automatically, you are considered as a Vaishnava?
Aspiring Vaishnava. You see, to come to the Vaishnava stage, that is for somebody else to judge. That is for the Guru to judge. We can put in our effort, and we should put in our effort, but we are aspiring Vaishnavas. We can't say that, oh, I am Vaishnava, I'm wonderful. That might be a little self-serving. But the idea is that we have been given this process and we should follow it, because it will keep elevating us. And then by the mercy of the acharyas, whatever shortcomings are there, they will compensate for them and help us go back to Godhead.
So the thing is, so we don't have to consider this Varnashrama Dharma at this age, Kali Yuga. Just follow the principles of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chant.
Exactly.
So by the grace of Sri Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, then we will get to the stage of the elevated stage of Vaishnava.
Exactly.
Okay.
You see, the
Okay.
example is a very simple example they give. See, if you're in school and you're a very, very diligent student and you're studying very hard and you're doing very nicely, and there's a hard exam, and so maybe A grade, A plus is 90%, and maybe you get 89, 89.5, something like that. But the teacher feels that you deserve to get an A. Doesn't the teacher give you little grace marks and
Sure.
award you the A grade? Or like in America, they have the system of curve.
Yeah.
They say they curve the thing, you know, so everybody, maybe the actual score, nobody got above 75 or 80. But then they say, okay, the highest is equivalent to 100. So everybody gets pulled up accordingly. So that is the mercy of the acharyas. We will not be, we can never have, there'll be arrogance if we say that, oh, we are very good, we are Vaishnav, we are at that stage, we are wonderful. We can only say that we are aspiring to be Vaishnav. We are following or trying to follow as best as we can the instructions of the Vaishnavas, of the acharyas, of the Guru, and then leave it to them. They will assess our grade. But one thing Prabhupada has said, he said it very clearly. He says, you follow this process, I will make the arrangement for you to go back to God. So with that faith, we follow the process. We all have faults. We all have shortcomings. But Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva pape vimokshami mahasaya. That you take shelter of me, follow my process. Aham tvam sarva pape vimokshami. I'll free you from all sinful reactions. Krishna is not said anywhere in Bhagavad Gita, first become perfect, then I'll take you home. There's no verse that says Krishna is not saying, demanding that you become perfect. And when he appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who did they give the most mercy to? The more fallen you were, the more mercy you got. Jagai Madhai, drunkards, all kinds of bad qualities they had. And Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu went to them and made them devotees. So if the point was that if such bad fellows could be transformed, then we who are trying, we are also bad fellows, but you know, or I can say, but if we are trying, then Mahaprabhu and Krishna's mercy is there. They know that in Kali Yuga you are incapable. But still they've said, okay, this is the process, you follow this process, we'll make your arrangements to come back to God. That's why they sent people like Prabhupada. That's why they sent acharyas. We are capable of discussing this today only because of what Prabhupada has given us. Otherwise, how would we have the ability to be in this discussion? This is proof. This is proof. I don't know about you, but if I think back to my life, when I was growing up, I had no idea about all of this. And now, at least by the Lord's mercy, by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, we have the opportunity to sit together and discuss what is the highest, probably, knowledge, because it's coming from Krishna, so it's the highest knowledge, and we are able to discuss it, able to have this process of Shravanam and Kirtanam. This is all by their mercy only. Not my, certainly not my qualification in any way. This is proof.
Yeah, I feel the same. Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you so much for elaboration.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you.
We can't even tell like this to even to some of your own family members, Prabhuji. They'll say, what are you talking? They'll look at us as if we are some odd. But I think life will teach them when they observe us or experiences. But they're like not even 1% like how we were before, maybe. I mean, at least how I was before.
No, my wife and I, we are also laughing because these things are there, don't worry about family or anybody. I mean, whoever is lucky, they'll take to it.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada says that we cannot preach to a faithless person, right? If somebody is not interested in Krishna consciousness, we just move away from them for some time, and maybe one day they will come back.
Right. This is voluntary. It has to come from within.
Yeah.
If I was in India, I don't know if I would have been like this.
Yes, same.
We also laugh, my wife and I, like, India also, the environment is all this knowledge coming from India, but the environment in India is so materialistic, it's so difficult.
The funny thing is, even now when we tell, like just at least out of curiosity, we do discuss. They say, oh, maybe because you're in America, all this is possible. Come to India, which is not true, but they think it's like.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I honestly think about that all the time, having grown up in America. It's just so nice and refreshing to see that. I mean, no matter who I've been associating with, I've had a lot of friends, non-Indian. I mean, whether it's the Indian folks or American folks, point is they have some religious inclination, and regardless of what race or religion they are, there's that appreciation. And when you're growing up in a society where collectively people value faith in God, regardless of what path you may take in your personal faith, it's just nice to see that, you're not alone. And of course, if all these other people around me believe in God, I'm not crazy to think that he said all these things and that the scriptures are real, because it's otherwise you're saying that the whole world is an idiot, and that is not.
Yes.
I mean, to see that there's a whole country where people believe in God and they encourage spirituality in some faith. And, if I say that, oh, I'm going to a religious study or something, they're like, oh, that's nice, have fun. That's so good that, you can do that. We're appreciative of that. So on the whole, I think that, if I'd grown up in a society where there wasn't that appreciation for religiosity and God consciousness, it may have changed. It definitely would have not have shaped me into the person that I am, or I would not have. I mean, I'm far from perfect. I'm sure everybody has think of something, but I think how decisions I'm making and things, even if I grew up to be like a standard, normal functioning member of society, just the way you approach certain things, you don't think about it from a religious angle if you don't live in a society that values that. It's just nice to contemplate and think about the effect that's actually had looking back.
Yes.
Really, the fact that in the US there is that appreciation for spirituality on the whole, and that it's good for fostering religion.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, America's God conscious. They all say, God bless America.
I mean, maybe Prabhuji, like even in my workplace, I do tell them, what is your weekend? I boldly tell them this, what we do. Oh, that's nice. And they appreciate. I don't know whether inside what they think, but not all in India. But when we tell, oh, what are you doing? But there are some even in India, like, some cousins say, oh, even we started doing this, we're doing this. I'm like, okay, it's not that everybody's like that. There is still, some handful, lucky ones, I should say, that they realize and then.
Well, actually, Krishna consciousness is booming in India. So from that perspective, it's heartening. But yeah, the majority of the population they think that being religious is a little backward, actually.
Yeah. Even if we don't use the word Krishna consciousness, but at least now with this television and all the channels, we say pravachana, like, in South Indian Telugu word, pravachana, like people are at least hearing at least half an hour instead of all these daily serials and wasting their time. at least they're hearing. Though younger generation is not that much, not all
Right.
again. Yeah. I think it's again luck. We should just thank God that at least you brought us here. That's all we can say.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Very,
Thank,
very, very thankful.
thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Discussion.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you.
We feel nice, every Friday, like our regular our satsang, like how we used to do. But now, though we are in pandemic, we stick to this Bhagavad Gita, and then at the end, even this little bit interaction with all the devotees, I don't know, it adds a lot of value, Prabhuji, I feel really.
Yeah.
It's Krishna's blessing.
Yes. This is Krishna's blessings, yeah. We
And Mukta
enjoy.
Sangha Prabhu arranged,
Yeah, thanks to
it's
him.
Krishna's
blessing.
arrangement for all of us again.
Yeah,
through him.
it's a Krishna's blessing too for him.
Very true. Yes.
Without him, it will be difficult for us to get together.
Definitely.
I remember when Mukta Sangha Prabhu started, I said, Prabhuji, do you think it'll work out? But I think, no, Prabhuji, it's a good idea. Now I'm saying it's a good idea. Because we thought it was like maybe 3 months and then pandemic is gone. Now, whether it's there or not, let's just continue. We feel,
Yep, this is all we have in Kali Yuga.
Yeah, thank you for everyone being so enthusiastic. That's more important because we need enthusiasm. Utsahat, nistayat, dhairyat. We learn that, right?
Right.
Also, we need those aspects. Otherwise, we need everybody's support actually. For everyone.
You're helping us stay enthusiastic with your efforts.
Yes, thank you.
Otherwise, where Prabhuji from Atlanta, where we are in Bensalem, how Krishna arranges, Prabhuji, really, it's amazing. It's all Krishna's mercy, I feel.
Well,
definitely.
Myself from Atlanta, Tyagu Prabhu's from Atlanta, Narasimhan he's sitting in Canada.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, in a small place called Port Elgin.
It's the international congregation.
Yeah, international congregation of Krishna.
And Shanti Mataji, they're from Georgia. They were here in Bensalem with us and they relocated. We still feel they're with us because we are seeing them every week.
Oh, they relocated?
Yes, we are.
Wow.
We relocated 8 months ago, but because of the pandemic, we still feel like we are belonging to Bensalem still. We live there.
Okay.
Because we didn't meet anyone since 8 months and we're only meeting in Zoom. Doesn't matter where you're in Georgia or Canada or Atlanta. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay,
Thank you.
One announcement before we leave, as usual. So tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. by His Grace Adhigadadhar Prabhu, please join. It's a different Zoom credentials. I'm going to send that. And then Sunday, we have this Sunday, every alternate Sunday, Prabhu, just for your information, we have this Pauganda Pravachan. I already informed, right? So we encourage kids to give discourses on Vedic subjects. So this Sunday is a time, one Prabhu from Florida, Viraj Prabhu is 12 years old. So he's going to speak about exemplary devotion of Hanuman. So log in and that will be very interesting because he gives classes elsewhere also, I think in temple. And so he's very enthusiastic, devotee, small, 12 years old. So please join at 10 a.m. Pauganda Pravachan on Sunday, 10 a.m. And Sunday is also Putra Ekadashi, just for your information.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Sunday?
Yeah,
Ekadashi.
Ekadashi.
Ekadashi comes so fast, Prabhuji.
11th day of the full moon. 11th day of the new moon. It's good for us. We can lose weight.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Krishna Prabhu ki jai.
Jai. Mukta Sangha Prabhu ki jai.
Bensalem Bhakti Ruksha ki jai.